Hello and welcome to our walkthrough for our global settings for colors. I will be walking through all the different text and background color settings in our global theme tab so that you can see where all the colors are being applied when you're making these changes. So what we're looking at right now is in the theme styles where we've opened up the menu for global, and this will touch on all the text and backgrounds and element colors on your website. So I'll be going through this section primarily today, and your primary text are all the text that is the main body of your site. So I will be changing all of these to red so you can see where they are actually being applied. So for primary text, you'll see the change being updated in our preview here. And you see that the menu has changed. You see that the auxiliary links have changed. You'll also see that some of the body of the text and headers are different down here as well as the product card text. For the areas that you are not seeing the changes, that is because this is a widget that has their own text color that you can specifically customize on its own. So those will not be impacted because they are different elements on the website. If I go into a different page, you'll also see it being applied through, for example, on the category page, you'll see it applied on all of these different labels and the product cards itself. And then if I were to actually go into one of the product pages, you'll see all of these are also changed. So these are the areas that are considered as primary text. I will be changing that back, and now we can take a look at secondary text. So secondary text is actually only going to affect a very minimal part of your website, which is on the product card or product page. You'll see that the brand label and link is changed to red. So this is considered secondary, but you are likely not going to see that anywhere else, as most of the settings are set to primary text throughout your website. So you can see here, everything is still primary text, and we only see the secondary in the product page. Now for the reverse text, this is a setting meant for text on darker backgrounds, and this setting is linked to the header in your category page. So for example, your category page could be one of these. And if we go in here, by default, some of your pages will not have an image, but if you do have an image, it'll be shown here. And the reverse text is a setting here for images that have a more dark background, and you want to make sure that text is visible. So in order to access the setting for a reverse text color, if you go into header and footer, you'll notice that there is a setting for the category title style here, in which you can choose between primary and reverse. So if this changes to a primary text color, you'll see that it changes into the text color we had set on the first setting. So you see here that that's been changed. But because our reverse text color is set to white right now to ensure visibility, once this is changed to that text color, that will change the text on the header of your category page. As shown here. So then we go back to global. So for example, if this changes to red, you'll see that direct change again, and I'll change it back to white. This function is also going to change the variant selectors on a product page. So going into a product that has different variant selections, you'll notice that we have some text variants here as selectors. Now, if I were to change that again back to red, you'll notice that on hover, there is a darker background to the buttons, which means we would need a text that has a contrast. So this has been changed. So those are the two areas where your reverse text color will see a difference. Now, for the link text, it's pretty direct to what it entails, but it is all the links that will change. So what are considered links on your site? If we change this to red, you'll notice that the reviews on the product page has changed. Not much else on the product page has changed, but you will also see it in the sign-in page. The forgot your password is going to be changed. And then you're going to see it in the category page as well. In the filter options, these texts will change. And in the sort by dropdown, the text that is shown by default here will be changed as well. And then that's good. So these are the main areas that you will see the link text being updated. I'm going to switch this back. The link text hover is also pretty self-explanatory, but all the sections that we just saw where the link text changed, this will change the hover color. Then for primary background, I will return back to our homepage so we can start from the top. But this will change all the main backgrounds of your pages. So changing that to red, you'll see that the background behind the widgets are going to turn red. So these widgets background are not changed and will need customizations from the widget settings itself. Again, because these widgets are a different element from the global styling, you can actually customize different colors for each of the widgets. You'll also notice that a primary background is also an input field. So in the newsletter sign up input field, you'll see a change in that background. You'll see a change in the search input field as well. And then you'll also see it in the account page here. Since this is not a widget, all of this will change in the background, including the input fields that you see over here. Then, if we go back, change this back, secondary background. The secondary background will update the color of a wish list in a product page. So let's go to a product page. So there is a drop-down for Add to Wish List, and the secondary background will impact the drop-down backgrounds as seen here. It will also change the category SEO text container. So if we go to our category page, and if you have an SEO text container at the bottom, it will be changing that display over here. You'll also notice a change in the mobile menu. So the mobile menu background is considered secondary, and that will be updated accordingly. You'll also notice it in the sign up for the account page. This is also considered a secondary background. Now I'm going to change this back again. Now, the reverse background setting will update the social link background color on a mobile menu. So let's change that and see where that's being applied. And if I go to mobile, you'll notice that this background is considered a reverse background. So that will change, and it will also be displayed in several areas on the account page when signed in. So that is after you sign in, you're going to see some of those backgrounds also being impacted as the reverse background. I'll change this back as well. The reverse alternative background setting will update the fast set label element background, which are active filter tags. So let's go to a category page and let us set some filters. Now if I change that to a red, you will also be able to see the change in the background over here. So the active filter tag backgrounds are reverse alternative backgrounds. You'll also notice that on the mobile menu, that will also be impacted. As the subcategory links and dropdown, those are also considered reverse alternative backgrounds. Back on desktop, you'll also notice a change in the search dropdown. So this background is also considered a reverse alternative. And then very, very slightly, you'll also notice that the menu has a border at the very bottom here. So this very thin border is considered a reverse alternative, and so that will also change. Now, let's revert that back again. The border color will change input field border colors. So let's change that to red now. Basically, anywhere that you're seeing a border input, that will be changed to red, including the chevron. The filter here has a price input, so that's being changed. The search has a border around the input as well. That will also change. And then in the account page for sign in, as well as create account, all of these input borders will change. Let's change that back and move on to the next one, which is reverse border color. So similarly, like the reverse text, this is meant for darker backgrounds, and you can set that setting in case you need a larger contrast. For the primary elements color, this is referring to UI elements. So let's change that and go into, for example, a product page, because this will be changing icons, star ratings, for example. Also, the quantity selector, your variant selectors, all of these will be impacted. All the star ratings that you see here in the iconography will be updated. Any exit icons will also be updated. And then when we go back to anywhere that has a carousel, which is the home page, you'll see that the dot indicators are also changed, as well as a elements color. Let's change that back again. For the primary element hover color, that is just when those elements that we just saw are hovered over, that is the color you want it to change into. The reverse elements color is very similar to what we also established before for other reverse elements. Is when you want a larger contrast for a darker background, you can have them appear as so and set the color that you want here. For the disabled color and background, this is regarding any inactive state components. So let's change the background so you can see clear difference. So for example, if you had an out of stock product, you will notice that there is no call to action to be taken, and therefore the button would then be technically disabled, and that background of that call to action will then change to the disabled color that you have set. And then if there are any variants that are out of stock, those should also be inactive. And then here's an example for if I'm trying to add something to cart and there's a loading instance, and I'm unable to actually engage with any of this, then it will change to that disabled background color. So as we just saw for a moment there, it was loading to cart and I was unable to engage with that component, and therefore it became disabled and that color was changed. Going back, let's reverse that back to what it was before. The focus color is actually regarding to accessibility feature text. So when a user is using an accessibility feature, as in they're tabbing through with a different program, you will be able to see the focus states and its colors. So we do keep it where we have set it as default. This does not need further customization. We've picked blue because that is standard for most focus states. So we recommend not really touching this unless you really need customizability for accessibility, but we do recommend keeping it as is. Error colors are just any errors that you're seeing on inputs when users are getting a message to change or update their input. This will be the color, so this is pretty standard to keep it red. And then the alert pop-up box background is any pop-ups that you're going to be getting as a message status on a user's action. So that will also change the status of an overlay. The last setting I want to go over regards to our bend style. So this style can be found in the style menu here and changing our theme variant to bend, which is a dark mode variant. So you'll see that the backgrounds are changed to a darker mode and all the text and buttons are changed to a lighter mode. And we can have a setting for buttons on a hover state to have a glow effect, which is a setting that you can find in buttons and icons. It is towards the bottom of this menu state that you'll see a pre-selected add glow to buttons. So basically, it's all the call to actions and buttons that you see here, where on hover, you'll be able to see a glow effect like this. To be able to see that better, we do recommend changing the background of this to a darker one. So because this is a widget, it will have its own background setting, which you can find in the settings here on the side, and change that background to our darker mode. Once you see that, let me refresh that so that the preview actually reflects the row setting. We see it here, and you'll see in the preview that this glow takes place. So having that turned off just means that on hover, it will not have as much of a glow effect. And that's about it for our walkthrough, and I hope that you found this helpful. If you need any further guidance for the settings, you are welcome to reach out to our team at Arctic Leaf, and we're always happy to help. Thank you.